Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with your host Al Young, and we are here with the brilliant Stephen McCafferty. So
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. So Stephen, could you introduce yourself and what do you do?
So my name's Stephen McCafferty. I'm a musician, have been for a very long time. Um, in and out of bands all my life. Um, then took a break from music for a few years up until last year. Then I got back into it. So I took a break probably from around about 2019, where I went to go and study for a while. I had initially planned to start releasing, and I'd started recording 2 weeks before lockdown, which was annoying because I was really itching to get back at it. So then that kind of got put on the back burner, which was a kind of blessing in disguise because um, it gave me an opportunity to kind of sit with the songs that I'd written, work songs that I've had kicking about for years, and I felt in a better position that when I did come to start recording again, which was in 2024, or maybe late 2023 actually, then released in 2024. But by the time I got around to that, I felt in a better position. The songs were had lived a little longer as demos, so I could sort of still tweak them right up until we started recording in the studio. And then yeah, started recording, got all the tracks down. Initially set out to record an album, but financially it was just made more sense for me to do record in batches and then release singles every what it's turned out to be every 8 weeks. So yeah, first single as a solo artist in January 24, and since then, over the last 20 months, I've been releasing a new single every 8 weeks, give or take a week or so. But I'm now on. I just released my ninth single. Um, I only want to hear sad songs, and I've got my next single ready to go, which I'm actually going to put together with all the previous ones and repackage it as an album. So it'll be a 10 track album that will accompany the effectively the next single.
Yeah, cool, cool. We have a question from Lisaboo, my head moderator, all the way from Canada. She asks, "Hi Stephen, what
Hello.
is your process for writing your song?"
Um, it's typically just sitting around with the guitar. Everything is written on the guitar. In terms, so basically, I've got hard drives and even cassette tapes and old phones just full of little ideas. So it's usually just little melodies and chord sequences and little riffs that I'll just have kicking about for a very long time. Lyrics always take the longest, but it's what I like to focus most on. And what kind of lyrically inspires me tends to be not necessarily other songwriters, it's usually to do with what I'm reading at the time. Um, and songwriting for me is generally a way to process what I think and how I feel about things. It's quite therapeutic in that sense, and I do it. I've done it since I was 10 year old. I kind of just fell into it by accident, and it's without knowing it at the time because I obviously didn't have the emotional vocabulary as a young man to know this, but it became something that I lent on in order to kind of deal with what I was going through. So just it's difficult to pinpoint what inspires me to write because I just can't imagine. I can't imagine doing anything else other than writing.
Cool. Thank you for that, Lisa. Let's dive into some questions. So, as a kid, what were you listening to?
Mostly my mum's record collection. So I remember we always had a record player in the house because I don't remember. It's all vague for me, but me and my mum used to dance and sing along to songs like on Sundays. This is before school, so I'm very young. The only record that I really remember vividly is it was a blue record and it was like 12 fat sausages sizzling in a pan. So that's the only one that I really remember from that point. But then later on, I remember we got a kind of an upgraded record player that my gran had given us, and that's when I started to kind of go through the record collection myself and just keep listening to all these things and just becoming really kind of mystified by what I was listening to. Because whilst a lot of the albums and compilation tapes and single LPs, they were all the most of them had covers, but some of them didn't. So I wasn't entirely sure what I was listening to. So for some songs that would resonate with me, I wouldn't know till years, maybe even decades later, what it was I was listening to. But the songs that I would eventually rediscover from what I was listening to then would be things like David Bowie, the Cranberries, the Beatles. I even like one of the records that I played over and over again was Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up," long before it ever became a meme. And then Jermaine Jackson's "Let's Get Serious." I used to listen to that over and over again, and again that took a long time to even know for that song to come back into my life, because I obviously he didn't have like compared to Michael Jackson, I didn't have the kind of career that he was front and center, and I would have any opportunity even to discover his music again. But yeah, stuff like that. But I was still kind of and there was a lot of compilation tapes as well, so a lot of now tapes, and so I think what I remember from them would be like Womack and Womack. Teardrop song is something that, do you know those kind of songs that no matter when you hear them later on, they've just got that instant kind of nostalgic feel because it had such an imprint on you when you were a kid. So it was songs like that. There was a lot of kind of Atlantic soul type songs in the collection. And then it was still a kind of a passive listening. I never thought of it of like actively pursuing music at that age, because I'd still only have been around about maybe 5, 6, 7 year old. But it was mostly my mum's record collection at that point, and then I moved school around about 97, 98, and the first friend that I made was a huge Oasis fan, and that's when I started to kind of actively look at music, at like who it's by, what's this song called, and all that kind of thing, rather than just the passive listening that I was doing as a kid.
So obviously, you had your mum as your influence on getting to listen to music. Was there any other influences in your life, such as sibling or a friend, to actually turn you into listen to this fan's school?
You cut off a sibling there, but
Was there any other? Was there any other like? Was there any other people in your life to turn around?
yeah,
Sorry about that. My audio just cut out there. So, was there any other people in your life to turn around and say, "Oh," who actually influenced you to actually listen to music?
yeah. So the guy that I just mentioned. So when I moved school, I've given a buddy to show me around, and he was. It's surprising to think of it now, because we would have been about 9 or 10 year old at the time, but he was very kind of he was clued into what he wanted to do with music and the kind of music that he was into, and he was very sure of his kind of musical direction. And because he was the first person that I met at school, and we ended up sort of getting on quite well, I kind of fell into that scene, which was, so obviously it would have been, we were a little bit younger than I think the target audience for that music, but it was that kind of mid to late 90s stuff. So it would have been like obviously Oasis and the Verve and Supergrass and Pulp and Blur and all those kind of bands. And his music collection was a big influence on me. He used to give me a list of CDs all the time. But I suppose a little bit maybe a little bit before that as well. I got caught up, like all kids at that age would have, with this kind of Spice Girls and all that, and that kind of, because I was getting into music and writing it as well. I think my dad wanted to kind of steer me away from that kind of stuff, So he went out to get like he brought records home, like CDs. He brought CDs home of Bob Dylan, the Animals, the Kinks, the Who, just to kind of introduce me to that kind of style of music, and which I really enjoyed. I think the only one that really stuck in terms of still listening to it today was Bob Dylan. I went through quite a big Bob Dylan phase because I ended up watching all the like the Martin Scorsese documentary, and yeah, got a bit obsessed with him. I suppose for a long time actually. I suppose up until because I went to go and see him when I was 16 because he came to Scotland, um, which was amazing. That you would get to see someone like that. But yeah, so those were the two influences then, and I think my dad always kind of pointed me towards music that had a bit of purpose and meaning lyrically. So it's not just kind of love songs all the time. Um, and that I suppose that's still with me. I still write a lot of those type of songs, and it's not like I'm consciously steering myself away from writing love songs or anything like that. 'Cause I still obviously write those songs as well. But I do have a keen interest in writing songs that are more kind of culturally inclined. Not so much preaching songs, but more so just exit like songs as a person that's existing within the systems that we're currently living within. Um, I'm reading Mark Fisher just now, who wrote Capitalist Realism, and the book that I'm reading right now is Ghosts of My Past, which is to do with like hauntology and all that kind of stuff. And he talks about these structures that we're all living within. We've got this kind of nostalgia for a time that never came because there was like the 20th century had all these dreams of the future, and despite those dreams never kind of fulfilling themselves, we're still left with the memory of a future that never arrived. And so yeah, right now, because, and again, this is what I mean about what influences the songs that I'm writing. It typically is what I'm reading, and that book right now is influencing my writing quite a bit.
Cool, cool, cool. We've got a couple of questions from the chat here. Lisaboo has asked, what instruments do you play, and is there any you would like to learn?
Guitar and vocals are my main instruments. I've been playing guitar since I was about 13, singing for just as long, maybe if not, probably a lot actually longer than I'm playing guitar. I do have other instruments around the house. So I've got right now I'm in the kind of room that I use for recording, and so I've got a piano there, and I can I know my way around it, but it's very heavy-handed. Um, I can play bass and electric guitar and those kind of stringed instruments that the ability to play guitar lends itself to. Um, I would love, I'd love to get better at the piano. And it seems to be it seems to be taking longer than guitar. But then again, I've been playing guitar for so long that it's difficult to even remember not being able to play it. But I think the difficulty comes with when you can play one instrument so kind of fluently, and you're sitting down trying to write a song. Sometimes you're spent more time just working stuff out, working chords out. Whereas if you just pick up the guitar, I can just do this without even thinking, and I can get on with writing the song. But I think piano is one that I would love to get good at. Um, and I think the benefit of starting guitar so young and being in a time where you didn't have access to all the videos that have ever been made of guitarists. You're not aware of how bad you are, and the only just making a single sound on the guitar sounds amazing. I remember the first thing I did was just slide, and I was just like, this is absolutely incredible. So I didn't have access to all the great guitarists on YouTube, which I think if I had, I might have not stuck with it. But the learning curve for piano it seems to be quite steep. But yeah, mandolin I can play a little bit of. I think I would love to be able to play stringed instruments in terms of like violin and cello, but I think I've just got to kind of take it one instrument at a time.
Yeah, cool, cool. Yeah, thank you for that there, Lisa. We've got a question from Jesse 581, who's all the way from Australia. Sort of like a similar question to what Lisa asked earlier. Uh, which comes first when writing a song? Is it a riff, a bridge, a lyric, or a verse, or is it what comes first?
There's always exceptions, but most of the time it's the guitar, the music and the melody, or a bit of the music and the melody. They tend to just come together, um, and then I'll just keep humming away until there's a melody that I like. Like something will hit your ear just differently from other things, and then that'll just kind of loop around for a long time, and and then a lyric will start to appear. Sometimes, like it's quite a well trodden path. You'll hear people like Paul McCartney talk about this, and I think it's quite an intuitive way of writing. I think a lot of people end up doing this without ever learning how to do it. But it's that kind of gibberish singing where you're just kind of playing guitar and just singing sounds that will eventually start to sound like words or form into words, and you kind of try to get out of your own way. If you start overthinking, or at least this is what it's like for me, if I start overthinking a song and what I want to sing about, it ends up becoming quite contrived, and I end up not enjoying it. So I just try to get out of my own way, let the song happen, and then you'll get a rough sketch of something, and then get a rough outline of it, and then that's when the kind of editing starts, with kind of picking away, or changing words, or kind of starting to construct it. It's kind of like a puzzle as well, especially when you're starting with the melody, um, because if you've got a melodic line, obviously that means that you've got a restriction of syllables. So it's kind of like a puzzle trying to find the right words to fit into the right space. Which would be similar if you were doing a kind of if you were writing structured poems. So if you had a Shakespearean sonnet, whilst it's not got a melody, you're going to have it's like the rhyme schemes A B C D C D E F G G, and each line has 10 syllables. That's just like what is in your songwriting as well. The melody is the kind of the scaffolding that you're trying to fit the words within. Words always take the longest one. Sometimes a song could be written. So I just wrote one over the last 2 days, which is finished now. And then some songs can be written in 15 minutes. Some songs will take years, like proper decades to to finish. But they tend to be the most satisfying because you're like, God, finally done.
Cool, cool. Thank you for that, Jesse. Um, yeah. Um, out of all the music that you've listened to over the years, who was your sort of like main influence to say, I want to do this. I want to get up on stage and actually perform.
Um, So I would say the main influence as a kid was Oasis. That's when I started to actively want to be in a band, but it wasn't necessarily just it was like it wasn't primarily because of Oasis. It's because of the friend that I made at a new school. So you kind of just want to. Because I remember he said to me, if you're going to be in the band, you need to write songs. And I'd never written a song ever. And bearing in mind, we're just 10-year-old. And I think that's what I meant earlier on when I said it's strange to think now that he had such kind of focus on what he wanted to do and the direction he wanted to go in. But it was basically him, and we ended up doing a kind of a cappella because we didn't play instruments yet. A cappella at school. We used to have this thing every Tuesday where you could get up and sing a song or do something like uh, sometimes girls would sometimes girls would get together and they would tape a song off the radio and then they would start performing like one of the girl band songs, or people would get up and break dance and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of that was the first time that we ever sang in front of anybody. As I say, around about 10 year old, and then we started a proper band by the time we got to high school, and then we started playing gigs then. So it was like we played a competition in a high school in another high school, and which was nerve wracking. Um, but in terms of an artist, an artist that had a big impact on how I wanted to play live or music that I wanted to play was I came through to Edinburgh. I live in Edinburgh now, but I'm originally from Fife. But I came through to Edinburgh when I was about maybe 17, and Texas were playing the the Hogmanay Festival, which is, I don't know if you've ever been to Edinburgh, but there's like a big bandstand in just in Princes Street in the Gardens. And Texas were playing there, and Texas were a band that got played often in the house. Because both my mum and dad enjoyed them, but I never really took that much of an interest into them. But seeing them playing live and seeing the dynamic of their set was, I found, really inspiring. And I remember going home that night and I wrote. So I would have been 16 actually, because it was, or 15, because I wrote a song that ended up being quite a popular song within my kind of peer group. And it was inspired by that gig at Hogmanay in Edinburgh.
Cool, cool. Um, right, we've got another question from Lisaboo. She asks, "Do you have a favorite song of yours and why?"
Of my own songs,
Yeah.
it's usually the one that I'm working on is my favorite song, because it's like quite exciting to watch it come together. It's funny, when you're demoing songs, I'll listen to the demos of songs that have not been released yet over and over again, because you've always got a critical ear trying to figure out if there's anything you can add or take away and all that. So I listen to that stuff all the time, and it's almost like as soon as it gets to the point of being released, I tend not to listen to it again. It's not because I don't like the music. It's just obviously I'm focused on the next thing and getting the next song done. I think right now, I don't know. I'll reframe the question then, because it's a bit of a boring answer. I say that I've not got one, but of the singles that I've released so far, so that's 9 singles as a kind of solo artist. Of those 9 singles, I would probably say my favorite is probably say my favorite right now is "Reason to Run," which is kind of a indie rock, indie folk type song. It's quite existential. The lyrics, and yeah, lyrically, it's probably one of my favorites. So yeah, that'll be my answer for now. But that answer will probably change tomorrow.
Cool. So, what you did sort of like briefly mention that you were in a few sort of like groups and bands as a kid, but were you in any sort of like bands that sort of like went somewhere?
Nah, I mean, kind of moderately successful in the local scenes and stuff like that. The most success I had in a band was my previous band, Return to the Sun. We got 3 XFM breakout tracks of the week. We got like a full 2-page spread in the kind of in the Sun newspaper, which is the highest selling paper in Scotland. Um, and we got to play the Isle of Wight festival twice, which was amazing. But nothing that is like crazy successful. When you're younger though, and when you're in bands, you always feel like you're on the cusp of something, a little bit of success. But I think it's kind of naivety and not being aware of how much effort it actually takes. I think we're also brought up on these documentaries of bands where it's just been like a stroke of luck, and then they've gone they've gone from playing a gig to 10 people one night to playing massive stadium gigs like the following year, which for most bands that doesn't really work. It doesn't work like that. There's many years of graft and dedication that sometimes those documentaries seem to wash over.
Cool. Cool. So, what have you sort of like been up to, especially over the last say 12 months or so?
Well, as I say, I've been releasing singles for the last 18 to 19 months, um, every 8 weeks, and I'm going to be repackaging that, like I say, into an album. I've been I've been gradually getting more gigs. I'm away down to Ragley Hall this Friday to play Camper Colin. So it'll be my first. I don't want to say first proper festival because I have played other festivals like locally and stuff like that. But this will be the first festival that I play that's got like kind of names that recognizable names. Um, so like the on Friday I'll be playing the festival that has like I think they've got Razorlight headlining one night, which is a pretty big deal for me because I grew up listening to them. I remember the first time seeing Golden Touch music video and I was just kind of hypnotized by the band. So yeah, it's going to be cool playing a festival or sharing a festival with them. So yeah, got that coming up. I've been playing loads of different gigs, and as I say, just mostly releasing music and just trying to kind of get my music into new ears and hopefully build a good fan base that's engaged and waiting for me to release new music and hopefully come and gig in a town that they stay in.
Cool, cool. So, could you tell us a little bit about the songs that you've been releasing, especially like the most recent one?
So the most recent one was "I Only Want to Hear Sad Songs," which is slightly different to the vibe of most of the other songs that I've released so far. Um, that's probably it's I would say maybe about 6 or 7 years old. I remember writing it. I remember getting the first part of it um, in an old flat that I stayed in. I was sitting on the couch, just sort of strumming away on guitar, and I just got the refrain. I only want to hear sad songs. I thought it was quite a nice refrain. I don't really remember writing the rest of the song. I think it just I think that was one of the songs that it didn't take long to finish because it's not a very complicated song. It's not got any crazy chords or anything like that. So yeah, in terms of what it's about, I suppose at the time of writing it, I was in a bit of a kind of low state, low mood, and um, yeah, a little bit just kind of a little bit lost, and a lot of the things or a lot of the music that I was listening to was a lot of sad songs, but it was mainly to do with me write what the kind of songs I was writing at the time, and a lot of the songs that I was writing seemed to be just sad songs, and so yeah, I thought that obviously that's a bit specific, so it'd be more universal to say I only want to hear sad songs rather than I only seem to write sad songs. Um, but yeah, I kind of it was one of those songs as well that when I finished it, I kind of knew that it was a good one, which you don't always get that feeling. Sometimes you spend your time writing really kind of shit songs for ages, but you have to keep writing those songs to kind of get to the good ones. Just it keeps yourself sharp. But when I wrote that one, I kind of knew immediately like it's going to be a good one. At that time as well, though, it seemed so far away from releasing anything because as I say, I was going through. It was like I think it might have been lockdown that I wrote it in as well. So I think a lot of people were going through a similar mental space at the time. Um, and yeah, it's crazy to think now that's out. It's out and released, and it's had really good feedback so far. And a lot of the people that like a lot of friends who are not so much fans of my music. It is one that seems to have connected in a broader sense compared to my other tracks. I think it's more commercial than the other stuff that I've released.
Cool, cool. So, you did mention that you are going to sort of like release another song. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the next one is called "I Am the Buffalo," and that's going to be the kind of lead single of the repackaged album. Not sure what the date's going to be yet on releasing that. I need to work out a few things because um, when you kind of put it through your distributor, you want to make sure all the codes are linked up because I don't want any of the songs that I've already released to be pulled off any playlist that people have put them on. So I need to kind of mirror that up. But the song itself, it's one of the newer ones that I've written. I think I wrote it about 2 years ago, and it was during a period of working night shift, which I always find really difficult, the transition from day shift to night shift. And but it's good for writing, because, like I said earlier on, what you want to do is get out of your own way. But it's much easier to do when you're you feel like you're half in a dream state and you're half awake. So I remember waking up probably about 8 o'clock in the evening, and I needed to leave. Nah, I would have got earlier than that. I probably woke up about 7 o'clock in the evening, and I would need to leave at 9 to get to work. And I was just kind of playing away on the guitar. The guitar was already tuned to Dadgad, so I was just kind of playing away on this riff, and then yeah, it just started to appear. The first line kind of hit straight away, and then the good thing about my work, so I work at I'm a support worker for the homeless, but I work within a shelter. So when you're doing night shift, you're not going to be you're really not, with the exception of some intense moments, the vast majority of the time, on a night shift, you're not going to be doing anything. You're just kind of holding fort. And we've got guitars at work and stuff. So yeah, when I went into work, I just kind of finished it there, and it's just that you're not really. I wasn't really concentrating what the song was going to be about. I was just kind of writing lines, and like I say, when you're that kind of sleepy, it's much easier. Or sometimes you can go through really, really good spells of writing when you're knackered, because half your brain's trying to fall asleep and the other half is like trying to write a song. And yeah, it came out of that, and I'm really looking forward to releasing that one. It's another one that I really like, and I think it's a good way to wrap up this first chapter, of 10 songs. Because I initially had planned to do an album. That idea kind of faded. I was just going to do single after single after single, and I was just going to keep doing that, but I feel like with doing that without any kind of break is a bit too relentless. So yeah, going to finish off this first chapter of 10 songs, then head back into the studio and start recording the rest. I'm writing all the time, but I've got a lot of kind of songs in the vault that I've been writing and collecting over the last 20 odd years.
Cool, cool. So, have you got a sort of like a release date for this for the sort of like for this album coming
I'm
out?
not sure yet. I'm not sure what the date's going to be yet. It's not going to be too far away, because like I say, I've been wanting to release every 8 weeks. So I think we've probably just hit a month since my last single. It's maybe about a month since it was 25th. So 25th of July. So what we on just now? So yeah, almost a month. So I reckon the album's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks away from now, I would imagine.
Cool, cool. So, have you sort of like you just mentioned there that you once this everything's sorted out with the with the single and album, have you sort of like got enough material to when you go back into the studio to either get an EP, we've got enough material for an EP or even an album?
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough material for like several albums. Like I said, there was a break of maybe 5 to 7 years where I wasn't releasing anything, but I was writing the whole time. But I also pick at little bits and pieces from songs that I've had for a long time, or little ideas. It's one of the things I like to do to keep, if I'm not feeling inspired, but I want to keep writing. A good way of keeping myself ticking over is by kind of Frankensteining parts from different songs. So usually bad songs with good parts, taking those good parts and trying to put them together to come up with a better song out of maybe 4 or 5 songs. Um, and that's something that I do quite often. And I think I've been writing songs for 27 years, so I've got a lot of little bits and pieces, um, from a long, long time ago. Like 2 songs that I released last year, or one song this year and one song last year. I've got one called "Lord Knows I'm Trying." The melody for that chorus I've had since I was about 17, 16. Um, and then the chorus melody from a song I released last year called Someday Somehow, I've had again, sort of probably around about the same time, maybe a wee bit older. But the songs that they were a part of were rubbish. They weren't very good songs. But there's just something. It's not even you don't even need to go digging. There's just something in certain parts that just seem to come to the surface of your mind when you need them. And those two songs that happened. Someday somehow I think I had the verses for ages without a chorus, and then that one day when I was messing around with it, that chorus just came. And I was like, oh, there we go, that's that done now. And the same with Lord Knows I'm Trying. So yeah, that's a lot of songs to pick from. I've compiled 24 songs to demo in my house, and then I'll start doing them the same way I did the last one. So recording batches of four. We are going to approach the next stuff a little bit differently. So all the songs that you can hear now, they were all recorded as a three-piece band. So it'd be me, Dario, and my friend Jason. Dario on bass, Jason on drums. We go in, we just record it live, mainly to get the drums down, and then. But although Dario never really needs to do overdubs, he always got it right first time. And then we'd go in and overdub all the acoustics, all the electrics, some piano, and the vocals and the backing vocals and the harmonies and stuff like that. With this next record, I think we're going to try and build everything from the acoustic guitar up. The guy that I record with, he's got a lot of experience doing that with other artists. And some of the records that I've heard that he's been part of making in that way just sounds incredible. And I kind of want to do it that way because I would like to have, if I can, and if I meet people that would be interested in getting involved, I'd like to have the next batch of stuff string led, like string quartets and stuff like that. And there's one song that I think will sound quite good with kind of a brass section. So yeah, that's kind of the direction I want to go in. Although I'm aware sometimes I can be a little bit too ambitious because obviously these are musicians that I don't even know yet. I'm going to try and find them to kind of be part of the next lot. Even if I just have one batch of songs that have that kind of elements to it. But the benefit of doing it from the acoustic up is these are things that we can just add as we go. Um, but yeah, lots of songs to choose from, and can't wait to get cracking on them.
Yeah. Lisaboo has just said, sounds cool.
Thank you. I hope it is.
Uh, so, is there any plans on releasing any merchandise?
Merchandise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a merchandise section on my website, and it had coming soon for about 8 months, and then I decided to take it down because it's like there's no point in planning on that, or no point in having that there if it's kind of a little bit way off in the distance. I do plan to do merch, and I think now that I'm going to have this album, I'm certainly going to get CDs made for taking to gigs and stuff like that. I would love to get like a limited edition of vinyl. There's a place not far away from me that does it quite reasonably priced. Um, I think that would be a real kind of like dream check off list. Because I think, like I say, when I was a kid, one of the things that I used to do was just kind of get lost in all those vinyls and read the covers, read the lyrics, like look at all the pictures on the sleeves and stuff. I think if I could have in my hands an album that I've made on vinyl, I think that would be a kind of a special, a special feeling, special moment for me. So I do want to get that, but maybe that will be at some point next year that I manage to kind of get the funds to put that together. But yeah, that's the kind of and I suppose at the same time there are sites that I can use to get merchandise for like making mugs and stuff and t-shirts. So it is something I'm looking into, but because this project is entirely funded by me, I'm the only person that's financing everything. So I'm paying for the studio time, paying for the mixes, the mastering, the promotion. It's quite it, it it's quite a laborious and financially costing task to keep doing. And then to add other things onto that, yeah, it's sometimes trying to weigh up, is it worth, is it worth the cost? I'll definitely get the CDs made and all that, because it will be good to have those to kind of try and sell at gigs and stuff. But we'll see. Hopefully have some sort of merchandise next year, like mainly mugs. So yeah, if you're looking for a new mug for your coffee and tea, hopefully I'll have something for you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, especially well, merchandise will be like, especially if it's a t-shirt or like a cap or some sort of like a pin or badge.
Yeah.
You'll be because people will more than happy to buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, I think people seem to really like supporting up and coming bands, certainly the gigs that I've been at. So yeah, it would be nice to kind of have some additional income that I can put towards recording and stuff.
Yeah, and Jesse 581 has said yes, vinyl.
Okay, okay, Jesse. I'll hopefully have some for you.
Yeah. 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 So, oh, yeah. And speaking of Jessie 581, she asks, and thank you for reminding me, Jessie. She asks, any plans for tours?
Kind of on a, I'm kind of in the middle of what you could call a wee tour just now. So I played a festival on Friday there. Then I'm at a festival this Friday. Then I've got a few other dates coming up. It's on my Instagram. The poster. So it's Stephen McCafferty Music, I think it is. But you can find all that stuff on my website as well, which is stephenmcafferty.com. That's Stephen with a PH, and McCafferty is McCafferty.com. All my tour dates are there, and you can follow me on bands in town, so you'll find all the dates that I'm going to be doing in the future. So yeah, gigging more often, and then I'll kind of compile them into a kind of tour like thing, but it'll be a kind of mostly weekly thing, I'd imagine. Where's Jesse based?
Australia, Western Australia.
No plans for Australian dates, unfortunately. It's a wee bit out of the way for me. But I would love to one day though. I've always wanted to visit Australia, so it'd be amazing if I got to play there one day. Actually, funnily enough, the the drummer of my previous band, he's out in Australia right now, and he's gigging out there with bands that he's formed. But we've been chatting recently, and there's discussion of him drumming on some of the tracks that I'm going to be doing recording next, either as he's recording them there, then sending me over the tracks that I can use in the studio, or I think he's visiting Edinburgh again next year. So maybe try and line that up and get into the studio, and he can lay down some drum tracks for me. So maybe I'll speak to him and see if he can put me up for a few weeks and go and gig a few places in Australia.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, obviously, you would love to go down into Australia to do a few gigs down there. Well, would you sort of like do like a full blown UK tour, then sort of like branch out into Europe if you had the funds
Yeah,
there? Lined up?
if I had the funds, yeah, it'd be happening already. Certainly UK. I did a couple of UK tours with my band, my previous band, and it was always really fun. Um, the the bass player that was in that band, he was from Devon, is from Devon. So we played a lot of places down there. Or at least we drove towards there, but and played a few places on the way. But a lot of the places we played was in Devon, and it was great fun. And I would love to do it again. And yeah, if I think I probably will plan for something like that. The music that I make is full band stuff, like all the bells and whistles and stuff like that. But the gigs that I've been playing have just been me and an acoustic guitar. Um, so it's easy enough for me just to kind of rock up in places, and I have been thinking a lot about doing that next year. because it's easy for me to do that because I've got my own PA system, I've got my guitar and that, so it's just a case of kind of putting the plans in place. So a UK tour would be great, or even just kind of region by region, come back for a couple of weeks and go down somewhere else again. But yeah, it's definitely in the plan. Although I would say it's a wee bit further in the distance than other things.
Cool. Thank you for the question, Jesse. So, get this off. Where can people find you on social media so they can keep up to date?
So the best place to find everything would be my website. So as I say, StephenMcCafferty.com, and from there you can find either my Linktree, which has all the other links, but you can find the places to find my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the places to listen to my music. So it's Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff like that. The only I would say Instagram's where I'm most active. I don't really use Facebook too often for my music. I use my personal Facebook, so feel free to add me if you want. But yeah, I mostly do that. With the band Facebook, I just find it all a little bit. Yeah, it's just a little bit too much. And every time I've tried to promote my a new single when I've released it, it's not allowed anybody to share it. It's just yeah. So I've just not bothered with it. But Instagram is where I do like I post all the time, a few times a week anyway. But you can find all that stuff from my website and all the places that you listen to your music. You'll find them there as well.
Cool. Guys in the chat, if you've got any more questions, please ask away. We're going to be starting to wrap things up in the next 5-10 minutes or so. So, Stephen, have you got any advice for people who want to become a musician, whether for their own personal enjoyment or sort of like going down sort of like the more commercial route?
I mean, I've got advice for anyone who's if you want to do it as a profession, it's obviously really hard. I think the best advice I would give is just if you love it, it's easy. But being consistent and consistently showing up and trying to get try to get thick-skinned with either no response or kind of criticism. It's good to kind of get to a stage where that kind of just brushes off you, because you can end up that can end up kind of putting stumbling blocks in the way, and you can end up getting lost in your own head, imagining what people are thinking. So especially if they're not replying to you. So one of the things that I've found since doing it again, and like these last 18, 19 months, I spend a lot of time sending out emails to try and promote my music, and a lot of those emails don't get answered. Um, but later on you find out they're maybe not replying to you, but they've taken notice of you. So for example, there's a popular music magazine in Scotland called Stack Magazine, and I'd been sending them a lot of my singles and got nothing back. And then I found out just because I stumbled across a playlist one day that they had longlisted me in a playlist for Scottish Single of the Year, and they didn't even they didn't even tell me about it. So in my mind, I was thinking, oh, they just didn't fancy what I'm doing. But it's just, I mean, people are busy and they don't always have time to reply to the emails. So that would be my advice on just trying to kind of stay focused on why you're doing it. If you love it, like I say, it's easy. Just stick with why you're doing it, and try to let all the kind of external noise just be that. And I think if you love it, people will resonate with what you're doing. But it doesn't need to be what you're doing if it's kind of giving you anything, emotionally or mentally. It doesn't need to be any more successful than that. If it's something that's kind of healing you in any kind of way.
Sound advice there. Sound advice. Excuse me. Ozzy, Jesse, I should say, I'll call it Ozzy. Ozzy says, I'm saving for the UK at the moment. Hopefully I can get over in the next year or so. So hopefully she might, when she does, she might come and see you.
That'd be awesome. Have you got any locations in mind? Do you want to do the kind of all the kind of main spots of the UK, or just one place specifically?
Yeah, if you can answer that, Ozzy, it'll be great. So whilst Ozzy is responding to that, so my sort of like final, going to be starting to wrap things up now. Any final words before we leave?
So I never quite caught that. There.
Any final words before we start wrapping things up?
Any final words? No, I just hopefully you check, those listening will check out my music and hopefully enjoy it. If you subscribe to on my website, you can subscribe to my newsletter. I send out a newsletter once a month just to kind of keep people updated. So yeah, become part of my mailing list and yes, let's connect and let's stay connected.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, if you haven't checked out Stephen McCafferty, please do. I have put the mods have been putting the links out in the live chat, and also I put the links down in the description as well. So please check Stephen out. He is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So guys, until next time, we'll catch you all later.